Alright, welcome back to the show, everybody, and I've just got a comment on this article I just saw from Ichibaka. Credit to him. Go and subscribe to him now on YouTube and Twitter if you can. And this is his latest Twitter post, or one of his latest Twitter posts. And I was just browsing through while making a drink, and let me scroll down a little bit here. And it just got me so angry, I've got to comment on this. As we can just move down, we'll see it. So there was recently an interview with Kathleen Kennedy for Rolling Stone. And these are some of her comments. So we can see here, you can imagine the laugh. Or something like that anyway. I know Halloween's gone, but I'm sure you can imagine it. Jurassic World director Colin Trevorrow was slated to write and direct episode 9 before you brought J.J. Abrams back in, Rolling Stone said to her in an interview. Is this final entry in the trilogy a particularly hard nut to crack? Every one of these movies is a particularly hard nut to crack. There's no source material. We don't have comic books. We don't have 800-page novels. We don't have anything other than passionate storytellers who get together and talk about what the next iteration might be. Plenty of novels right there. Oh, it's still going. Kathleen has none of these. Yeah, right. Rian Johnson made some controversial choices in episode 8, The Last Jedi, especially considering his dramatic purpose as the second movie in the trilogy. Were you, to an extent, deliberately setting out to challenge fans and their expectations? We definitely did. We're talking all the time about how we move Star Wars forward and how we keep it relevant. Keep it relevant. You've made it irrelevant. You've completely made it irrelevant since 2015. You damaged it so much, it is now irrelevant. And you're trying to keep it relevant. I would hate to see the damage it would incur if you were actually trying to sink this thing, actively trying to destroy it. What you've done is just irreparable and unforgivable. And you're trying to keep it relevant by doing what exactly? Destroying all of its beloved characters for the sake of some terrible new placeholder diversity hires? Is that it? Just ridiculous. I can't believe someone would say that. How you make it relevant? Well, here's a clue. Write some good King stories, for God's sake. Okay? Just make some decent characters, write some stories, make films that people want to watch and they will remember. That's how you make it relevant. Not by trying to force King politics into it and trying to demean masculinity and promote femininity and just bring real world political issues into a complete fantasy setting that's supposed to be escapism for every one of its enthusiasts, and every one of the viewers, every one of the readers, everyone that's ever followed Star Wars looks to it as a means of escapism and fantasy, not to see themselves in it. You don't keep it relevant. You don't keep Star Wars relevant. That's like trying to keep Lord of the Rings relevant. Why would you try and keep Lord of the Rings relevant? It is relevant. It will always be relevant, regardless of how the world changes. You don't try to keep it current. You don't try to keep it fashionable. This is how this woman fails right here. Obviously, we don't want to just keep making the same movie over and over again. Right, so what did you do with episode 7? What was that? You don't want to keep making the same movie over and over again, but you just rehash things that have come before. And that was episode 7. Episode 8 just rehashed things from the original trilogy as well. So you are making the same thing over and over again. You're completely lying. You're contradicting yourself entirely when you say this. Is she just saying the first thing that comes off the top of her head? She's not thinking about her words at all in this interview. And she says, so I agree with you. I mean, I love what Rian did. Yeah, of course you're going to say that. It's an absolutely wonderful movie. So she doesn't believe her own words. She's just saying this to try and save face, obviously. Stop herself from getting axed by Bob Iger straight away. And to just eke out the rest of that time until the end of that new contract, Kathleen. I mean, I love what Rian did. It's an absolutely wonderful movie. Jesus. I think he's an extraordinary filmmaker. Yep, that's one way of looking at it. I wouldn't really call him extraordinary in a good way, but, you can definitely look at it as him being extraordinary. Extraordinarily appalling, I think, is another way of looking at it. And I really appreciated the bold moves that he did make. Bold, brave, Stunning. Yeah. I think people forget that, especially when you're doing a trilogy structure. The first movie is setting things up. The second is usually the conflict. And yeah, the conflict of the fans. Yeah, that's where the conflict was. The conflict wasn't in the movie. It was just a space chase. There was no conflict. It was just people getting killed. No one fighting back. Just people getting killed and chased. That was it. There was no conflict. And then at the end, it was Rey winning over everybody. That's not really a conflict, is it? And the third is the resolution. And we already know that the third film isn't going to be a resolution because it's not going to answer the questions that everybody has since the first movie, since episode 7. It's already been admitted by various cast members that episode 9 will not resolve a lot of the questions and theories and things that fans are still wondering about. So she's just lying about every single thing here in this article. So you're bound to have that second movie much the same way Empire Strikes Back was probably the darkest and most dramatic of the three. Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. We talked about it with Indiana Jones. You know, we did Raiders of the Lost Ark and then we did Temple of Doom, which was dark and created a lot of controversy. I was around at the time. I don't remember controversy there with that. And people were surprised at where it went with the storytelling. But frankly, that's the whole point. I love that we have these amazingly passionate fans who care so much. No, you don't, because if you did, then you wouldn't have allowed employees of Lucasfilm to completely slander them for the last 2 years. And I know sometimes they may think we don't listen. You don't. Well, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people at Lucasfilm are listening, but they're not doing anything about it. Apart from panicking now, maybe, with the imminent release of this new film. We've had nothing but pictures of employees of Lucasfilm taking photos of themselves, selfies of them, with a mug saying fanboy tears on it, or photographs of the fans' favourite characters like Luke Skywalker with their faces crossed out, just as 2 examples. But we do, and we thought it was fantastic that people got engaged. She's really trying to put a positive spin on this whole cataclysm that's taken place in the fandom. It showed me and everybody else how much they care. Yeah, that should have humbled you because you obviously don't care. You know, it seems like the only people that do care are the fans. So I'm sure that humbled you. And that's important for all of us that are doing this. We really look at them as custodians of this story. What? If the fans were custodians of the story, you'd give them to something that they'd want to be custodians of. Everyone's just washing their hands of this and throwing it in the bin. No one wants to be custodians of this crap that you've created. Custodians of the original trilogy and the prequels, yeah, sure. But what the hell is this sequel trilogy? It's just dreck. No one wants this stuff. No one wants to keep it. No one will buy it. No one wants to ever watch it again. Oh, my God, how deluded can you get? And that's important for all of us that we are doing this. We really look at them as custodians of the story as much as we are. We look at it as kind of a partnership. Right, okay, so a partnership where one partner disparages the other for 2 years and calls them all kinds of horrible derogatory names and belittles them and tells them that they're wrong and gaslights them, etc. Yeah, you know what kind of partnership that is? How did Marvel's Kevin Feige come into the mix? Kevin has been a huge fan of Star Wars and he's made that pretty clear. And I think when he went off to do a couple of the Spider-Man movies, he realised that he could kind of step in and out of what he's doing specifically with just Marvel. He talked to us and he talked to the studio and said, you know, is there any chance I could step in and do one of the Star Wars movies? And I thought it was a pretty cool idea. So Kathleen Kennedy thought, obviously, that Marvel was super successful, and she thought, yeah, get Kevin Feige in here, and we'll just recreate Marvel, but in the Star Wars universe. It'll be great. So yeah, that's exactly what we want, isn't it? Just more MCU, cookie cutter, formulaic crap, but with a Star Wars skin on it, because that's exactly what we're going to get. This is how much Kathleen Kennedy cares about Star Wars and about how unique it is and about how valuable it is to friends, well, probably to her friends, but to fans and to anyone that actually appreciates it and has done ever since 1977. He talked to us and he talked to the studio and said, you know, is there any chance I could step in and do one of the Star Wars movies? And I thought it was a pretty cool idea. So we're just beginning to talk about what might be and when that might be. But it's a ways off. Well, yeah, because, you know, I think it was Bob Iger said that we're not going to get any more Star Wars movies for, I don't know how many years, 2 years. But then that's how That's the kind of the amount of time it should be anyway. So they're just going to keep making Star Wars movies every 2 years and then peddling out mediocre TV series in between. Hence the cancellation of the Obi-Wan movie, the Boba Fett movie, any other singular movies that they were going to bring out. So we're going to get Drek like the Maz Kanata TV series instead. 0 people on this planet want, apart from maybe the voice actress. Have you thought about how much longer you'd like to keep doing what you're doing? Yeah, I'm sure she wants out right now, but since she's probably going to fail upwards, if anything, if she does leave her job, but her contract's been extended. But my God, the constant pressure she must be under on a daily basis from people that are unhappy with what she's done. I've really enjoyed this, I have to say. It's been incredibly exciting. And just the fact that George asked me to do this, I felt a tremendous responsibility with stepping in and taking care of the franchise. If there were going to be new movies, to really pull a team around this and cared as much as he did. What happens in the future and how long and how much longer do I do this? I don't know yet. I'm looking at all of that. It's been incredibly satisfying to reach this point where we've completed the saga and I made a really wonderful movie. It's going to feel very satisfying to the audience. So that's what I'm focused on at the right at the moment. And that's what the future holds. Who knows? Oh my God. Oh my God, gee, I think someone just wheeled past a huge skip full of bullshit because my nose is just streaming right now. That whole paragraph right there is just one of the worst things I've ever read in my entire life. How disingenuous is that, really? I've really enjoyed this, I have to say. I'm sure she hasn't. Yep, I'm sure she's really enjoyed Bob Iger coming in and pushing her to the background to apologise to shareholders and to the audience about how they've released too many properties too soon and how they're cancelling certain projects, etc. Yeah, and how she's completely mismanaged and mishandled the entire franchise since 2015. And she said she felt a tremendous responsibility with stepping in and taking care of the franchise. Taking care of the franchise? By whose standards? What? You've done nothing but destroy it. It's an absolute flaming wreck right now. And you're saying you took care of it. Oh my God, the lies of this woman. Oh my God, I'm stuck for words, really, with this. Absolutely appalling. Thanks to Bob Iger's new book, we now know in some detail about George Lucas's dissatisfaction with The Force Awakens. Yeah. What are your feelings about that? Personally, I've had a relationship with George going back to all of us meeting before Raiders of the Lost Ark, so this is a long 35 plus years down the toilet, isn't it, now that she's known George. And I continue to be very, very good friends with George. Really? Really? Those promotional photos from the Solo premiere where you were both standing at opposite ends of the cast and crew really said that you were very, very good friends with George. I don't think. And I think there's plenty of examples where people create something that is fundamental to who they are, where it's difficult letting go and watching that becomes something different. So, becomes something different. Yeah, it's not Star Wars, that's for sure. That's for damn sure. So I think, initially, this was difficult for George. Do you think it was difficult for George letting the franchise go? How difficult do you think it is for him now to watch what it's become? Jesus. I don't think he anticipated how hard that would be. And JJ came into it with such enthusiasm and, frankly, reverence for Star Wars. Yeah, so much so that he just copied what had come before. Yeah, real passion there. I had to find out what was personal for him. He had to make it his own. JJ made it his own, did he? JJ copied Episode 4 and called it his own. Yeah, I can see J.J. Abrams doing that. He does it with pretty much everything. Copies what other people have done and calls it his own creation. He's done that plenty of times before. Every director who comes into a movie has to make something their own. They have to find themselves in the storytelling. What? It's an established franchise. You don't come into Star Wars and go, right, I'm going to turn this into my thing. This is going to be my movie. This is going to be what I see it as. You don't do that. You should see it as Star Wars. It's one unified series. You don't come in and put your stamp on it. You treat it with respect as the original creator would have created it, would have gone on to create further episodes. You don't just come in, change it and say, oh no, this is my thing, for God's sake. It still has to maintain the identity that's Star Wars. You don't just come in and start changing things around. This is what happened with George Lucas. This is what happened with Rian Johnson, completely throwing George Lucas's creation entirely to the wind just to create his own completely disjointed story with absolutely no connection to anything else around it. Oh, God. And then when that's going to become a different point of view, and I think that's all George was reacting to. Yeah, probably not. He may not agree with every choice JJ made. He may not agree with every choice Ryan made. I don't think he agrees with any of them. The fans certainly don't, anyway. But he appreciates the filmmaking, that I know, and he so appreciates, for instance, what ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, Lucasfilm's visual effects arm, has done in the work of these movies. Well, yeah, I mean, they're not the ones screwing the films up. They're just creating beautiful special effects. But special effects are nothing without a decent story. That's a company he created, and he just continually tells me how astounded he is by how far things have come and how now whatever comes into your mind can be achieved. And he came down, for instance, on The Mandalorian to see what we were doing. He's worked a long time with director Dave Filoni, and he knows series creator Jon Favreau. And he was just like a little kid on that set when he was watching what we were doing. So I see him get caught up in this again, and I think there's a little bit of regret that he's not on the stage and directing movies and in it still. Yeah, I think you'll find that the regret he has is from giving it to you to control and selling it to Disney. That's probably the only regret. And, you know, obviously you've got no clue what you're talking about. We've seen pictures of you just sat there behind Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, just watching what's going on with absolutely zero involvement and sort of just giving it your token presence on set and not actually... your only contribution is probably making sure that women are represented in some respect, I should think. I can't really speak on behalf of what George is feeling all the time. But I know that he's very, very proud of what he created. Yeah, what he created, not what you created. And to see people go on and enjoy this now into almost 2020 is pretty remarkable. Yeah, we'll see how many of those people are in the audience that are enjoying it going into 2020. I think you'll find they're a lot less than you're anticipating, Kathleen Kennedy. So this woman is utterly despicable, completely lying in articles such as this. And this kind of crap is just going to go on and get worse and build more and more as we come to see the launch of the film in a month. And this woman's hideous face is going to be all over the promotional material in magazines and interviews, articles like this, taking credit for George Lucas's work. Wonderful. After she spills shit like in this article. Thank you very much, Ishi Baka, for that coverage. As I said, again, go and check him out on Twitter and on YouTube. And he's just producing excellent work and amazing journalism like this, covering Star Wars and its descent into nightmarish hell caused by this demon right here. So anyway, like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell for future videos. Like, that's what everyone's supposed to say, isn't it? Is that what they're supposed to say? Yeah. This is a selection of my favourite channels on YouTube. Be sure to pay them a visit. If you like their content, please give them a subscribe. Thank you.